All right, this is not Mark Waid's ignited number 10 and Kwanzaa. No Kwanzaa. But this is better than anything Mark Waid will write post 2016 because he's lost his mind via Trump derangement syndrome and through Comicsgate. This, what an enticing cover. I'm sure this is just leaping off the shelves, assuming there are shelves and not everything is digital. Who are you selling this to? Oh, and there's a side story about Zimmerman, the Hispanic Jewish guy, I guess, who was involved in an altercation with somebody and killed somebody. Who knows the truth of that situation? Nobody. Because, he knows the truth of the situation. Because if he's the only witness, then you'll just never know the truth of the situation. Is he a squirrel? Is he nutty? I mean, maybe. Probably. He seems like post the event he's a little bit nutty. But what happened on that event, without facts, we'll just never know. Anyway, so Waid, who's a Tyrannosaurus homo, a terrible lizard person, has reached his own conclusion with his own Zimmerman analog, and he includes that in the story for a little bit more posturing and virtue signaling. This is ignited number 10 without Kwanzaa, because I don't know, Kwanzaa went his own way. Now Kwanzaa is he's an idiot, but he doesn't have that same hateful energy that Mark Waid has, that energy of the kid who was picked last for every sport, who never went out on a date. And not all kids get weird like that. They just hang out with their friends and they play whatever games they want to play. But Waid gives those vibes of deeply, deeply resentful kind of person who holds poison in his mouth, expecting other people to die. Anyway, I'm kind of going off script on this because I did the video and it's on Bitchute and it's really politically incorrect because of current events. And the thing with these people, that's not even straight, I gotta get OBS, is that they make these kind of shield strawman comics where they don't expect someone like me to say, oh yeah, it's actually not white kids committing crime, because they don't expect that, because if you say that, you're just going to get kicked off social media, which is why I censor myself. That's why it's a shield and a straw man. Like, the only person who can really kind of cover this thing would be just some guy, the bisexual black guy who Waid called a suspected white supremacist. Really, Waid? Are you sure about that? Because if the Nazi Party is so inclusive as to include bisexual black guys, then aren't we really the good guys? Isn't Hugo Boss going to look just fabulous on us, Mr. Waid? It's just a fat camp, Waid. I swear to God, it's just a fat camp. But you will lose a lot of weight, inshallah. Anyway, so this is what Waid thinks an Arizona school looks like in 2020. Blonde, green hair, blonde in the background, blonde girl, and then blonde boy in the background. Yeah, that's not an Arizona school in 2020. That was an Arizona school in 1950, maybe. Arizona schools now are almost entirely Mexican. This is more like a school in 2020, this is probably Germany or Sweden. Diversity is our strength, am I right? You got one black kid, one blonde, and then another blonde in the background, red hair foreground, then a blonde, and you got one Mexican kid in the background. That's not Arizona. That's not the Southwest. The Southwest is basically northern Mexico now. These schools are, the entirety of the schools speak in Spanish. Even the teachers have to speak Spanish because Arizona is Mexico. The Southwest is Mexico. Most of California, if you're blonde or red hair in California, Arizona, Nevada, the entire of Southwest, you're the minority. You're the marginalized and oppressed person. So none of this makes sense. Anyway, this is a shot of, I guess, London and Paris, and his whole shtick is liberty, device control. Second, he's very much anti-peaceful assembly, which is First Amendment, anti-Second Amendment, I guess anti-Fourth Amendment, search and seizure, Fifth Amendment, due process, 14th Amendment is applied to the states, maybe even the Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. He's a deeply disturbed Mr. Waid, who hates the blonde, is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy, which is kind of strange. So he's anti-Second Amendment. laws that deal with that. The ability. And the Second Amendment is not for hunting, and it's not really for self-defense. It's for killing tyrants. The tree of liberty, the blood of tyrants and patriots. Blood makes the best fertilizer. If you quote the founding fathers these days, FBI is probably going to kick down your door, throw a smoke incendiary device in your house, burning you and your family alive, because that's what the founding fathers wanted. They wanted the police to come in and kill 80-year-olds sleeping in their beds. Anyway, so these are London and Paris, and they actually do have stringent liberty device laws. And there are people there who cause malicious, violent acts, and they don't use liberty devices to commit those acts. They use vehicles or cooking utensils or chemicals to commit those violent acts. So it actually turns out that the object is not the issue. It's the person wielding the object is the issue, And hey, England, France, I've got some suggestions to how to solve your little problem. Give me a call. I'm in the book. Very reasonable consulting fees. It involves a trebuchet. One that can, I don't know, put somebody in orbit. Is that possible? Maybe not. It involves transportation. Anyway, this is nonsense. There are no liberty devices. The people who are committing these violent acts of hurting children and adults, they don't use liberty devices. They use knives and vehicles, or they just use force. So actually, the people who need to defend themselves can't defend themselves. How does a woman, 110-pound lady, defend herself from someone who wants to force their attentions on her? She uses a hollow point, because a 357 is a great way of saying no thank you to someone who wants more than you're willing to give. Hollow points kill rapists dead, especially when they're coming out at like 1,200 feet per second. Anyway, Mark Waid is just delusional. And the people on these sailing the high sea sites are not on board with Wade's delusion of people are done with Waid. I think he's done with himself. I think he's Trump Derangement Syndrome, Comicsgate, Richard Meyer. They broke him. They absolutely broke him. So you've got these two Chads, two, I guess, white kids, blonde kids, who are pro-terrorism and anti-Second Amendment. Two athletic young guys, healthy young guys, are not anti-Second Amendment. They're very much pro-Second Amendment, because these kids are not in Antifa. Antifa kids are the kids who were picked last for sports, never went on dates. They come from single moms, latchkey kids. They just are hateful, resentful people. They're not good-looking Chads who are out having their girlfriend sit on their face. That's their life experience, is playing sports and just being happy, smiley people. They're not. Why would they be anti-Second Amendment? Waid, this is just some weird anti-white power fantasy of this guy. Oh, so there's a peaceful assembly which is provided for in the Constitution, and you've got a group of people with superpowers using violence to hurt a peaceful group of assembly, literally to censor them using violence. So they have superpowers. That gives them the ability to defend themselves. They are violent terrorists. Peaceful group, peacefully assembling. And it says, then to disrupt the protests that pitted pro-gun control legislation locals against Second Amendment defenders. He said they're out of town. Well, Antifa is also out of town. They also bust them in. Are you going to have an issue with that? And then they burn somebody's house down because he's like he's like a Rush Limbaugh or something. Blue eyes, Mr. Blue Eye, blonde hair, blue eyes. They burn his house down because he's a radio talk show host who's saying words that they disagree with. Mr. Mark Waid, he needs therapy. He's a deeply troubled little man who, even though he's literally a millionaire in Southern California, I don't know, it feels like he's just, because you can tell a lot about people by reading their comics. especially when they're not making comics, they're making propaganda, and this is just propaganda. You can tell their politics pretty well. Like, who are the bad guys in every Mark Waid comic? Well, it's going to be a blonde guy with blue eyes. It's, even though I think Mark Waid is blonde and blue-eyed, which is very strange. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I think I stayed within the PC guidelines for YouTube, but if you want something that's less lame, go to Bitchute. You can watch the videos there. All right, guys, I'll see you next episode, maybe.